Okay, I think let's go ahead and get started because I want to make sure that you all have ample time to hear from the folks who have joined us from my registry and ask questions. I am going to just say a few things about what we're going to think about afterwards, but I'm sure you all have lots of registry questions and thoughts. So we are lucky to be joined by Emily, Aaron, and Katie, who are going to give a short presentation, give some information, and answer your questions. And then after that, we'll have open time. We have some questions focused on just where we assume folks are right now, but I know we started off the last office hours by asking if anyone has opened their application since the last time we met. So I just wanted to give that moment, or if regions 6 and 9 want to give an update on their total number of applicants. I just fun to get a little insight and celebration as we kick off office hours.
We opened ours yesterday.
Yay,
Yay.
congrats, Janie. How many have you been refreshing the page as someone? That's what I do. I'm like, who has applied? But what
Yeah, I
yesterday,
don't
that's
know if
huge.
we have any already yet or not, so I have to check.
Exciting. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
In Region
It
6,
was.
we have 99 programs have applied so far.
Okay, nice.
Yep. And Region 9 is up to, I think, 135 programs, which is exciting.
Congrats, Carl and Oliver. That's a lot of programs. Something to celebrate.
Region 8 opened theirs yesterday as well.
Okay, Maria, congrats. Okay, that's a great pre-holiday celebration. We're excited to hear how those keep going, and big hats off to those of you. We know it's taken a lot of work to get you there, so very exciting. Well, I don't want to keep our my registry folks waiting, so I'm going to pass it off to you all. You should be able to share your screen. I know you mentioned a short presentation, but if not, we'll let you go. So thank you to Emily, Aaron, and Katie, who are here from the team, who will give us a quick overview and then be here to answer your questions. I'll pass it off to you all.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'm gonna go off camera just so you don't see me looking at my notes. So I'm gonna go through my piece very quickly. So it's just kind of like a brief history of my registry, where we've been, a little bit of context that will help for the rest of the presentation later. So, my registry launched in 2018 as Michigan's statewide workforce registry data system for individuals, trainers, and organizations to verify and track their employment, training, and educational accomplishments. So that's like in a nutshell, it's who we service, it's what we do. Somebody can be in all of these groups. They could just be in one of these groups. Either way, this is our bread and butter, are these basically these three groups. Um, what we do, so we process individual membership for people. Individual membership's good for 1 year, so it's kind of tracking those education accomplishments, credentials, those types of things through that process, and we verify that information on their profile. We also manage the statewide training calendar. There's a little snapshot at the bottom of this slide of what that looks like. So any of the kind of approved training that we have available in our system, we're like the hub, the great connector, if you will, where people can sign up for professional development. We also manage trainer approval. So those same people that are providing that PD, they are getting approved through our system through our trainer approval process. And then similarly, we also do trainers or training sponsor approval. So it's kind of the same concept, but if you're an organization that provides professional development, we support you there. And there's kind of two main groups, which is just, the organizations that focus on, PD is what we do. And also, there's a large majority of our training sponsors that are direct care organizations that do both, right? So they manage the direct care organization and they also do their own PD, which is great. Um, on top of or above and beyond those, we also just do organization approvals. We have a lot of different organizations coming to our site for different reasons, and we manage that approval as well. And then lastly, we do course and event approval. So that same professional development, that PD that we're talking about, we manage the approval for that as well. And that's what you're going to find on our statewide training calendar. So we have two little screenshots of kind of some transparency of like, we just like to let everybody know, like, how many people are we processing? What keeps us so busy? And where are we at? And where can you expect to be processed? Like what date? So those are just some quick snippets of like what we do here, what we got going on. All right. How do individuals use my registry? So that membership that I talked about, what's included in that is really like verifying their higher education, if they have any credentials, all of that gets sent to us during this membership processing time. And we take that information and we put it all onto their profile. And at the end of that process, everyone is given a career pathway placement. So that's kind of like what's included in maintaining my registry membership for individuals. Um, Individuals also have an avenue to connect to their employer through employment. So there's an employment section of their profile where they can report, what position they're in, the title, their wage, their start date, end date, things like that. That will be that bridge to connecting their individual profile to their organization or their employer's profiles, which is great. So that's one avenue to do that. And then they can also access reports. So you're going to become familiar with the learning record, which is essentially that individual's summation of all of their verified information on their profile. And it's organized in a way that kind of puts everything in specific places. So it's easier to read than kind of having to hunt through what each of those tabs may look like on their profile. And then lastly, as you can imagine, individuals use my registry to find training through that statewide training calendar. And then, yeah, there's a little screenshot at the bottom of like, well, what does it look like when somebody logs in and, how is it organized? So that's just a snippet of their profile and what it looks like. All right. And then lastly, for the kind of history piece of this is how do organizations use my registry? So two really big ones, right? They use it to verify employment records. So I know I talked about how individuals can submit that information and have it verified by their employers. Subsequently, employers can also invite staff to verify that employment from their end of things. So there's kind of like a two-step process to make sure that the information's correct and there's consent on both ends for that to be showing up. So employers have that ability not only to invite, but to accept and verify employment. And that's kind of like what that looks like, the screenshot of like what somebody will see under their employees tab of the organization profile. Um, and then secondly, they can access staff reports. So similar to how I talked about the learning record for individuals, staff have specifically tailored staff reports for the information that they need to see at a quick glance. So where are all my staff? Are they all connected? Is their employment all verified? Have they taken this training? So there's a lot of different organizational reports that they can access through that view that is specifically tailored to them. So, and that screenshot is also just like I said, if that's through the organization profile and just a quick snapshot of what they will see based on who is connected and connected properly to their list of employees.
Okay, awesome. So Emily gave kind of a big picture, like what does my registry do? I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and talk specifically more about the wage initiative, and how it pertains to my registry and how they can work together. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about, I'm hoping that you've seen these resources before. I think they were shared out. Emily is going to drop these resources in the chat as well, just in case you haven't seen them or want to refresh. We have two resources we developed specifically for wage initiative folks. First one we're going to talk about is the one that's geared towards individuals. So these are the actual like applicants, participants, if they're applying as an individual. There's kind of three main steps that they should be taking if they are going to be participating in the wage initiative. First one is they have to have a My Registry account. So they're going to create an account if they don't already have one. And then they're going to connect to their licensed organization as an employee, kind of like Emily talked about earlier with that employment section on their profile. The one thing we really highlighted on this guide is that we really want to make sure folks are entering their wages. So we have kind of detailed information of if you already have an employment entry, maybe you're already connected to your employer, just double checking to make sure that you do have your most up-to-date information and your most up-to-date wage in there. And then kind of the third step is just to become a member or renew your membership. When they do this, they'll be able to send us any educational higher ed or any credentials that they may have that we would then verify on their profile. So I just want to point out here that if somebody submits for membership, it is a 4 to 6 week timeline for processing. That doesn't affect their ability to apply for or participate in the wage initiative. So once somebody has completed all of those steps, they would be able to see their learning record, and they'll see that their employment history is on their learning record. It'll also include any other verified information. We are hoping that once they've completed those steps, that they will send the coalitions or their specific region their learning record so that you all can verify that they've completed this step. So the things that you can see from the learning record are their position title here as one. Two, you can see the title of the organization they're working for. Three, you can see the program type. So with whether it's a childcare center or family childcare, group home, etc., it'll show that here. And then you'll see their start date as well as if there's an end date for the entry. So when they're participating in the wage initiative, they should have, current present employment. So there should be nothing in the end date for their current employer. And you'll also be able to see the duration. How long have they been employed at this specific organization? And then for number 5, you can double check that they're verified by program. This is important because this tells us that their employer has said, yep, their employment details are correct. They are employed at our organization. Whereas if it's just self-reported, that would indicate that they've just, kind of self-explanatory, but that they've just self-reported and nobody's double-checked that they actually work there or that their employment details are correct. At the bottom of this page on the learning record, you'll be able to confirm the individual, so their name, and then there's a print date. So you can see exactly when was this information from, and there's a time shot on there. So then I'm going to switch back into the organization world. So when we say organization, we mean not like region coalition. We mean the actual licensed organization that has wage initiative participants as their employees. So if you are an organization and you have multiple staff that are participating in the wage initiative, there's kind of 3 main steps that you really should complete. First one is that you should access the organization profile. Most organizations will likely already have one set up, but we have instructions in case they don't have one set up and information on how to access the organization profile. Let's say there was turnover and the previous director didn't give the new director access. There's instructions here for what to do in that case. And then the second thing they want to do is verify the employment records. So going into their employees tab on the organization profile and just making sure all the information is correct for those wage initiative participants and that they've verified it. And employers can also update wage information on behalf of employees. So that's really helpful that they can kind of take charge of that as well. If someone receives a wage increase, they can go into their organization profile and they can manage that and update. The third thing that they can do is confirm the participants' membership status. So they can ensure that they've at least submitted an application, or if they're current, which means that their application has already been processed. And some words that you might hear that are thrown around in respect to membership status is applied, materials received, awaiting print, current. All of those are what we consider valid membership statuses. If they were listed as like an expired membership or they had no membership listed at all, that means they'd never submitted a membership. So we would not consider that valid membership. And similar to the reports that an individual would have access to on their profile, the administrator for or anybody who has access to the organization profile would have access to the staff report, where they can access individual licensing learning records for each employee. So once all the steps had been completed, they self-reported employment, etc. The employer verified it. They could send this licensing learning record to the regions that they are applying and or are participating with, and then the region would be able to confirm, yes, there is verified employment, or no, there's no verified employment. It's pretty clear with what is circled here in green. There's just like a verified yes and a verified no. And it has all the same employment details that you would see on the individual's regular learning record as well. So we've already gotten a couple questions. I think that most of the questions that you might see come up are the questions related to the employment entry. And there's kind of two different scenarios that might happen if you get questions about the employment entry. One is that the employment entry was accidentally verified with incorrect information from the start. Like they were verified as full-time, but actually they've always been part-time or something like that. If they find that's the issue, they would need to reach out to support@miregistry.org and request that the correction be made to the employment entry. So there's not really anything they can do on that end. The only thing that individuals and employers can change once an employment entry is verified is they can add wage information and they can add an end date for the employment. All of the other fields, so like their position title, the hours that they work, the months they work per year, all of that's kind of like locked down once the employment entry is verified. And MyRegistry staff are the only ones who can go in and update things. So that's scenario one, is that there was always incorrect information. It needs to be changed. Scenario two is that maybe somebody was part-time and that's reflected on their employment entry, but now they're actually full-time. So in that case, we wouldn't want to edit the old employment information because we keep a record of employment history and we want that to be reflected accurately. In this scenario, somebody would end date the current employment entry and create a new employment entry reflecting the updated information. And they would just keep the same, whatever date they end date it, that would then be the start date for the next employment so that it would show continuous employment with that licensed organization. But we don't want you guys to have to field these types of questions. I just know that they're going to come up, and the more information we all have, the better. Feel free, if it's ever feeling like you're like, ooh, I'm not sure, it's weedy, just send them to our support email address and we'd be happy to assist them, especially when it kind of gets into these employment entries, what should be showing, what should not, and how they can update that information. So then I'm going to jump gears a little bit here. So MyRegistry and data collection and reporting. So MyRegistry data is used in aggregate state, national data sets to inform stakeholders of the state of the early childhood field and identify needs within the field. We have a lot of users, a lot of accounts with a lot of data. So these data sets are used to determine effectiveness of programs such as the Wage Initiative, which is why kind of in the things we've previously talked about why it's so important to collect this information and make sure everybody has their wage in there correctly and their correct employment information, is because that's directly tied to how good our data sets are and how meaningful they are. So specifically how kind of the regions and coalitions are going to be participating in our data collection and reporting. So we are hoping that once you have a list of your participants, so this is not like just anybody who's applying, but once you have that like final list of who your participants are going to be, that you would share a Excel spreadsheet with us. so that we can identify these individuals in my registry so that we can track them over time. That's like the main concept is we want to be able to identify these folks so we can track them over time. And that'll allow us to answer questions like, a year after the wage initiative ends, are these people still in the field? What kind of roles do they have? What is their wage now? We can answer all of those questions as long as we are able to identify these participants on the front end. So after you have your list of participants and the regional coalition has reviewed the learning record or the licensing learning record, just to confirm that that employment information has been verified, then we would want somebody at the regional coalition to send us an Excel file that includes the individual's My Registry ID, first name, last name, and email address. So we want to make sure, if possible, maybe a big ask, but if it could match the information that's listed in their My Registry profile, that's going to be extremely helpful to us. So when somebody logs into their profile, right at the top, they're going to see their name listed, the email that's associated with their profile, and their My Registry ID. So once you have that information, you could compile a CSV file for us or any Excel, and then column A would be in My Registry ID, column B, first name, column C, last name, column D, email. I think Emily, if she hasn't already, is going to drop a sample file in the chat just so that you can kind of see what we're looking for with this file. So we're kind of we know that there's going to kind of not be like a one deadline, right, where you're going to know all your applicants across all 10 regions. It's kind of going to be a little bit staggered, is my understanding. So we're going to try to get some of this work done before the end of the year, and we'll kind of have some deadlines that we're going to announce soon of when you should have this information to us so that we can get some of these people identified before the end of the year, before those payments start going out. And we are going to be taking this information, identifying these folks, and then Holly is going to get some of this information, help kind of make sure everything's looking good, everybody's done what they're supposed to do, those kinds of things. The one piece I want to point out with the Excel file that we're hoping that you send to us is that we want it to be password protected. This just ensures our data security, those types of things. I have steps here on how to password protect an Excel workbook if you've never done so. I'm hoping that we can get this PowerPoint or this presentation sent out to you all so that you could follow these steps step by step. Yeah, okay, Sarah's shaking her head. Yeah, great. So I'm not going to go through them, but once you're actually working through this, here are the steps you'll take. One thing I want to point out is that we do have one password that we want everybody to set these to, which is just wage123. That is also the password for the sample document that Emily shared. So if you put in wage123, you'll be able to open it. And we're hoping we can keep that consistent across the regions and across the file that you are sending us. Ooh, delay restart. Okay. And we understand that you may have people being added later on that you maybe wouldn't identify immediately when you start issuing payments, and that's okay. We're hoping that the majority of your participants for your region will be on one Excel spreadsheet that you send to us. But then if you do have folks that need to be added later on, you can still send us additional spreadsheets, and that, like an additional spreadsheet or two, and that will be okay. So we're hoping that you can send this spreadsheet to support@miregistry.org with the subject line Wage Initiative Region, and then you'll put whatever region number you're from so that we can kind of keep track of it. And I know I kind of laid a lot out there with this, and if you have any questions as you're going through it, send us an email to support@miregistry.org. It'll go to me or Emily, and we'll walk you through it to make sure everything's good. So then I just want to point out that the My Registry holiday break is from December 24th through January 1st. I know we're trying to get a lot done before the end of the year with wage initiatives, so I just wanted to point out that we will be closed then. But definitely reach out to us via phone or email if you need any support. And then I think we're going to open the floor for questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Emily and Aaron. I'll just let folks let's start. We'll just come off mute if we have a lot of questions. We'll implement some hand raising or something just so we make sure to get everyone. But anyone want to start us off with a question?
Can I just say, I just want to pipe in for 1 second because I
Sure,
want
Holly.
to acknowledge this is a little bit different than what I was telling all of you. I had the opportunity to spend some time really talking through our processes with the registry team. And originally, I was telling all of you that before you approve people, tell them that they're accepted, that you would send that list to me. Because we are going to have names on this list that is necessary for the registry to be sure that they can find people, because what we know is we'll have some people with the wrong numbers or names that don't match the numbers. In order for them to most efficiently process this for us, we need you to send it to them first. So once you've selected your people, you send it to them. They will go through and verify everyone. And then once they've verified, I mean, if there's issues, they're going to follow back up with you and say, there's no one with this number. Let's try this again. And they will also be supporting us in doing that stopgap that we've talked about, where if someone's already been funded somewhere else, that they'll be able to say to you, this person's already participating, and you can move to someone else. So at that point, they will send the information back to me as well, and we'll be able to populate the month by month spreadsheet that you will be submitting with your SOE with ads and changes. And we'll just populate it in there with this information. And month by month, it'll pre-populate. And all we have to do is make changes as they happen. So when we have situations where Joan has been awarded and then she leaves her business and Carla comes in, if Carla's going to come and fill her slot, we would want to know we dropped Joan and we added Carla, but before we add Carla and start paying her, the registry needs to check on Carla again so that we're making sure Carla's not being paid elsewhere or that Carla's an actual educator. We're going to put all of this in writing too. So just know that this will be, I'm actually thinking a little flow chart would be helpful most likely, but just wanted to clarify because this is a little bit different than what I was saying, because I was saying it all comes to me. To keep this all, to keep people's identification or their identities hidden from me, I'll have a data share agreement, but it does not get me to the individual level. So the registry has the ability to be able to take those from you. Women, have I said anything incorrect? Robin and Emily and Aaron. Okay. I want them to pipe in if I'm misspeaking, but okay, so now questions. Sorry, Sarah.
No, you're good. Thank you for that clarification, Holly. Any questions from folks?
This is not a question, but I think we're curious on the registry side of things and on the MyLeap side for that matter. As people are getting applications, how much of the process have they already done? Because we're hopeful that at least on the center side of things, that they already have an account. They've already submitted for membership. They've already connected to their employer, but that could be naive. And so we'd love, it'll be interesting for us to see that. I think on the family child or home-based childcare side of things, we may see different, percentages that have done all those things because with family providers, it sometimes seems like, well, why do I need an organization? Or, it's just me or so, but we're curious about that. And I'm guessing no one has looked through all of their applications already to say, oh, they've all said they've done it.
Does anyone have a sense? I'm wondering, yeah, Carla, go ahead.
Yeah, so we've received actually we haven't received, I mean, we've received quite a few emails, but it really hasn't been as overwhelming as I thought it was going to be. And we have had some providers asking us about how to update their My Registry account already. And so, we keep telling them when you're selected, we'll give you more information and we'll give you step-by-step instructions. Um, but for the most part, it seems like almost everybody has their My Registry number. We haven't had anyone ask, how do I get a My Registry number? I mean, I haven't had that yet. Have you, Oliver? No.
That's good news, I think, or a good start. Carla, thanks for sharing that.
So I want to circle back to the closure for the holidays because I think this is really important for us to have a conversation about. I know the close dates for 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, and 9 for sure, based on what you all have out there on closure of your applications. 4 and 5. I sent you guys an email because I want to confirm when you all are closing your applications and when you think you'll have your list of folks so we can circle back. Maria, I want to acknowledge we're going to need to have a conversation. Are you still there? With
I'm
yours
still here.
on the 19th.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, it's the 12th. Sorry.
Oh, I had yours closing on the 19th from something I was looking at. So the yay, that's good.
Yes. Well, we just talked on Monday and with you, and I remember we said could we do 3 weeks? And you were like, yes, you could. So we moved it to the 12th.
Oh, yay. Okay, that solves the problem. Yay. We don't want you all waiting super long. And they'll work as fast as they can, but if we have closure, that's going to stop everything from being able to respond. So Shanae and I'm seeing Caroline on here will want to connect on what your
Yeah,
dates are.
yeah, ours is 22nd. We just adjusted that this morning. We hope to launch on the 4th or sooner when we get you your information that you have to review, and then we will have it open from the 4th to the 22nd.
So if you're closing on the 2nd, Shanae, when would you know who you're selecting? Not until.
Oh, we won't know until we come back in January when the committee meets.
Oh, okay. Then we're okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. So you wouldn't be submitting that to us until early January, right after we come or when we come back. So that's good. All right. Yay. People will be able to have a holiday. Unless Caroline, you tell me something else. And
No, I don't have an end date yet, but I imagine it won't be till after the holidays, won't be till January.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. That was pretty easy. So Robin and team, I'll be able to give you in writing when when these are closing. And then everybody will connect back with when do you think you're going to be sending us the list so that we make sure that people are expecting it and ready to roll so we can quickly turn it around or give you reasonable expectations about what it will look like when you hear back.
Right. Any other related registry questions or comments from folks? Maybe you don't want comments, but I'm just thinking if maybe you don't have a fully formed question, but you just need to put something out there.
Kelly, I think we also talked about the registry is likely to get some phone calls from folks needing to contact, and you were going to put together a contact list of who those should go to at each coalition.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Robin. So we would like to, and I will be providing it to Robin. I'm going to talk with each one of you about where is the address that you want people or the person that you want people to be connecting with? I think I know who that is, but we want to make sure because we don't, depending on what the question is, of course, if it's a state level question, they can send it to me, but we don't want to be having the registry team send people to me for me to send it to one of you. That's going to aggravate people. So we want to make sure that the team knows who it is that they should be referring people to, because I'm sure that they don't know that there's a difference between roles. And we know that there are a lot of different things that are happening that are specific to regions that the registry team won't want to be answering, but to funnel them back to all of you. So.
But that does bring up the registry has a lane. So if you have folks that are struggling with something related to the registry piece of that, it's perfectly appropriate to have them reach out to the support email. There's also a telephone number as well, because again, that is the work that they do, right? I mean, I don't think they're looking forward to hundreds of people coming their way because of this initiative, but I don't know that that's what we're talking about really. Because of the fact that this is normal course of business for them, right? They're supporting people right now who are right on top of the licensing rule change for centers, and they're trying to do all of the things. So again, the expectation isn't that you at the coalition level know how to do all the things in my registry. We just wanted to set you up with the basics because it's a very complex system so that you had some tools to support those that you're working with. But if there are specific my registry related questions, either on that you have that aren't surfacing right now or that those that are part of the project have, perfectly appropriate to reach out to the registry, and that would be the expectation.
Hey, Robin, I'm wondering, Janie is on here, and I know Janie had brought up the great question to us yesterday about the business moving over the summer temporarily and their license number changing. Maybe we should address that as well. We can put this in writing too, but this is a good question that I didn't know the answer to. So.
And Erin and Emily can certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but because they will have a new license, or at least that's how the question or the information was presented, they will have to have new employment records with that license. Licensing would require them to do that as well. So they will have to do a second new license and employment connection to that license.
So when situations come up, it seemed like this case was they're going to be doing renovations on a childcare business location, and so the people are moving, so they have to have a new license number. So everyone's going to have to move and be under a new license number, and then they'll move back, and it'll move too. And so we will want to know that information because the team at the registry was saying, well, that data is going to show up that they moved, but it might mislead us on our data about people staying employed where they were, and we'll want to be able to adjust or explain based on movement because of something like that.
And
Right,
I think I just want to clarify that it's any time a license number changes for whatever reason that this would be the case, and we would want to know.
Oh yeah, they could change from a home base to a center or something too. So good point. We're gonna have all kinds of fun scenarios.
I know we had a question, and I'm not exactly sure who this should be posed to, but we had a question about if there is actually like a data dictionary or a data, source. Just because when we are asking things, like to make sure that they're in the right fields and in the right categories. So if we are trying to match up any information for evaluation and things going forward, that we're capturing things the right way. Other grants we've done before, we've had like a data definition booklet or something like that can kind of say exactly how you're supposed to define things. So when everything's pulled all together, it's all matching. Do we have anything like that to kind of help our process?
Watching to see if Katie's coming off mute.
We do not have a data dictionary that's the full list of data elements and definitions in our system. We do have a data request form that kind of details out some of the most commonly requested data elements in my registry. And then with that form, there's a guide that kind of explains and gives a definition for some of those pieces. But it's not going to be a full data dictionary in terms of like it doesn't define integers or character limits or set any of those technical things. So if that's something that you are working with, that would just be a connection that you would make with Carissa and myself, and we would try to get that worked out with you, kind of on a one-on-one basis for now. But we can share that request form and guide, which kind of walks through the narrative and definitions of some of the pieces.
That would be very helpful. Thank you.
We have begged for the developer to actually create a perfect data dictionary, and they are absolutely unwilling to do that. So we had to sort of pivot and do something that made sense in terms of capacity and most common pieces that people want to know about and sort of place. Is this individual level data? Is this organizational level data, et cetera? So we can start with that. And then if you end up having a question, Carissa is the My Registry specific data specialist, if you will. Katie is sort of the all-knowing three-contract data professional, if you will. So together they are quite the team and would be willing to help. But we'll follow up. Sarah, do you want us to send those to you?
Yeah, with that way we can make them available to the whole group, or to send them to Joan, whichever email is easiest to send it to. Robin, as far as folks from ECIC, will make sure it gets to the right place.
So Katie, don't put that on your list. I'll send it to them because they're fresh. I just got them, the most recent updates. So I'm happy to do that.
I have a quick question. Well, I don't know if it's quick, and I don't know who can answer it. I had a program apply, and the director said that she had a staff member who is full-time. So, of course, their profile in my registry will say full-time, but they were a school district, and so the staff member only works part-time 2 months out of the year, but is technically considered full-time, but 2 months out of the year works part-time for the program. Would they have to change their profile in my registry for those 2 months to show that they're part-time for 2 months, but really they're full-time?
So there's
I was going to say, go
in my
ahead.
registry, when you enter your employment, it's going to ask you for your hours per week and your months per year. So most often what we see is that programs are closed in the summertime. So then they'll put like the months that they're actually working. I don't think we've come across that specific scenario, or I don't know if it's necessarily been as important as it maybe is for something like the wage initiative, to be honest. Typically, they would put the average of their hours, and then that's what they would put in their My Registry profile.
But are they doing two different roles when they do the part-time? No, they're doing the same. Because I was going to say, then I would recommend two entries, right? But you're saying this is the same role, just timing is different in the summer? Okay.
And I think we kind of see this if someone maybe their hours aren't consistent, like they just typically will figure out their average, and that's what they put in.
And then my next question related to that is, let's pretend there's a school district and then they are closed for 3 months of the year. And Holly, you might want to answer this. Do we not give them a stipend while they're closed, or and they're maybe not working, or when they go part-time, does that stipend get lower? How should we answer those questions?
Yeah, it's funny. When you said that, I wrote down, what if they're not working? I see Joy here, who, yeah. I can answer the second question easily. We have no expectation that as they fluctuate from full-time, part-time, that if they're full-time the majority of the time in a month or two, they're part-time for whatever reason, we are not expecting you to fluctuate. That would be a nightmare. If somebody, the good news is, goes from part-time to full-time and it's consistent and you know that that's going to stay the case, they can approach you and say, can you make me full-time? And then if you have the money, you can change them. We'll let you decide what you want to do with that. Joy, did you have deep thoughts on this? I no. I think this is maybe
Punting.
something I need to ask. What's that?
Yeah. I'm punting it to the next conversation that we have because we sat around and we were trying to throw out as many scenarios as we possibly could so that we would be able to give everybody guidance. That scenario I don't think came up in our conversation. So yeah, I wanted to support you because I knew what you were thinking, even with my camera off. I knew what was
You
going
could
through
tell.
Holly's
I'm
head.
like, ooh, yeah. I think it's because we are going to be tracking verification of employment. I mean, they would not be able to show a paycheck, so if they're chosen for employment verification in that time frame and there was no pay stub and no general ledger showing a payment of a wage, I suspect that would be a problem. So
Can we look
I
at it
need to
another
ask
way
Lisa.
too?
I need to ask, but that's kind of
Okay.
where my brain is going, that we could run into some liability issues with an audit if we're paying
Okay.
people who are not working during that time, but there may be some caveat in which to
I know, because I'm
get
thinking
away with it.
too, like with school districts, they used to be
Right.
able to get paid year round, but then they changed most of it to, you don't get paid when you're not working. But then my other thought to this was we're trying to keep people in the field. And I know a lot of times when summer comes and that job ends, those people are looking for another job. And if we want to keep them in the field, my thought was if it's possible to continue with that stipend, that's an incentive to keep them in the field.
Hmm. That's fair. Well, I will follow up on that one to all of you. I think that's a good question, above my decision making ability. So let me check. So
Well, and I just wanted to comment on that because if
yeah.
we, with centers and working 9 months and those folks who are not working during the summer, I mean, it's going to get pretty dicey, I think, in the numbers and being able to spend these grants down, quite frankly, because what's going to happen, right, is that because we didn't actually account for that like that. We did it on 12 months, as the amount of money that we were going to spend. We would need to be finding people in the second year, more people, I guess, to get on for the last 8 months or something like that. You know what I mean? Or so it does make it complex. I kind of like what Carla said. It could be that this is part of an incentive to continue on as well.
Hmm. Yep. Hence, I'm not making a decision. I can't make a decision on this. This is someone else's decision to make. So, I agree. I can see both sides of it. So, I also wanted to talk about part-time hours. This has come up, and I needed to have a conversation with Lisa Brewer-Walraven about this because we were not crystal clear on this. I wasn't crystal clear, to be honest, on what we were defining as part-time besides the guidance for childcare scholarship, which is really about the, up to 31 hours and that, or up to 30 hours in a week, and over 31. What our intent is for this to be people who are solidly in roles that are lead teachers and assistant teachers. And the determination at the state is that we want to be reserving these part-time stipends for people who are working on average a minimum of 20 hours a week, up to 30. So, of course, when people get sick or, again, we're not going to micromanage people and, check on how many hours every single week they're working. But we really want the people who are continuously on a regular basis caring for these kids, that are in their centers or homes. So average 20 to 30, more towards the 30 would be the preference. If that's an issue that we need to manage because of applications or language that's gone out, please reach out to me and I'm happy to work with you on what do we do about that. Any questions or primal screams or anything.
As long as you stay on mute if you're screaming.
Everyone's so quiet. It's Friday
Yeah.
afternoon. I think everyone's superheroes being here.
Agreed. Yeah. Go ahead, Janae.
So you kind of started alluding to employment verifications and audits, and we just had a robust conversation last night and asked ChatGPT a bunch of stuff about employment verification. So I'm just, can you give us what your thinking is around that right now? Just so as we build our system. And particularly, like, we thought that we would, because you're saying that you would do some audits here and there to then verify that they've been verified. And it sounds like you're going to go down to the provider level. So I'm just trying to get what's in your head right now about what employment verification looks like, because we're in the process of building a system that automates that.
Yeah. So all of you gave us a plan that we've approved on how you're going to be verifying employment before you're paying people every month. And so, of course, you all, part of that process is us verifying them inside the registry on our end. So we're doing a backup of this, who's employed and are they really connected to these folks? But things move, right? So on a monthly basis, we're also going to, of course, be tracking with you who's left and then who's replaced them, all of those things. In order to stay above board, we certainly want you, before you're paying folks, to make sure they still work there. And that can be an attestation from the businesses. And I know, Shanae, you're paying people directly. That could be, send us a pay stub or send us something where you're making sure that they're still working there. We'll want to, of course, make sure people are switching stuff out in the registry, but that's not going to be a way that we're going to be able to catch people who leave. And so doing our due diligence at the state level, we're going to twice do a random sample of 15% of the entire group and let you know, here are the people that we need verification of, that they were employed during this period. And then ask you to give us however you're collecting that. Some groups asked us if we could create a template of some sorts. I think depending on how you're paying people, we could create something where if you're paying the business, that they sign off on something every month and say, yep, these are my people. You could get a general ledger from them. That we can work with all of you. We just need to, because we know we'll be audited. We're always audited on these things. We need to be able to show that we were verifying that these dollars were going to people who legitimately are working in the field. And so this is our way that we've been approved to do a random selection twice. And so then I will be reaching out to you saying, these are the people that I need proof that they were employed. And so either you'll already have that, or you would reach out to the business owner saying, I need the general ledger from this time, proving that these people worked there. Shanae, tell me if that helped or what other.
No, that makes sense. And when you talk general ledger, I'm like a general ledger queen. So most people aren't. Most people don't have access to the general ledger. But anyways, so I was just trying to understand how you were thinking about it. We're thinking that we will provide multiple ways, including the employer or the pay stub. And we're still trying to work through what's the best way to do that with home providers in particular, because they generally won't have a GL, and what's the messiness around that. And do we do that by some kind of actual on-site verification. So I just was trying to hear what you were requiring, what your requirements will be going forward. I mean, I'm an audit queen too, so we understand. So this was helpful just to see what was inside your head and inside that space. So,
Yeah, thanks, Shanae.
very
Great.
cool. Mhm.
Tashana, did you have a question? I see you're unmuted. Sorry, Sarah, I'm not trying to usurp your
No, please go for it, Holly.
leadership.
It's okay.
Maybe not.
I'm definitely putting that on the list, having known how hard it is to verify employment sometimes when you think it would be super easy to just be like, just print what, make a copy of a check if that's what you did. But yeah, that it can be hard. So this can go on the list for further conversation. I know we're almost at time. So just does anyone have any burning last question or thought? Okay, well, I know you all are working hard, but I hope you find time in the next week to rest, get some time with loved ones. We will follow up with a reminder link to where the TA library is, notes. We'll get you clear on where the recording will be so that your colleagues who weren't able to join today, and then we'll send out the materials or ping you when the materials are in the TA library. I'm reminding myself, we're going to put them all there. We're going to put them all there. That's where you're going to go. But really appreciate our colleagues from my registry and your time, Holly, as well as Robin, and Joy as well. So thank you for being here today. I'm sure on the Friday before, many of you are traveling or having to make all of your pie crust. That's what I'll be doing this weekend. So good to see you all. Don't hesitate to reach out to the technical assistance email at any time. We're here to answer your questions, and I know that our colleagues who are are here to answer your questions in their areas of expertise as well. So appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.